Hello and welcome to Treasury Notes, a financial education program from the Office of West Virginia State Treasurer John Perdue. I'm your host, Gina Joins. Whether it's from high school or college, graduation usually comes with a newfound independence. After years of hard work and a clear path to follow, you finally reached your destination. But now what? Coming up in today's show, we're going to talk to a financial consultant about some practical tips and financial advice for starting this new chapter in your life. But first, an announcement from Smart 529 on how you can jumpstart a college savings plan for your newborn with free money. The Bright Babies program was announced during a recent event at 2 West Virginia hospitals. Kim Ward has more.
But we're here this morning to kick off a new venture for the Smart 529 program, the Bright Babies program.
This new venture for Smart 529 is designed to maximize the potential savings from an education savings plan by encouraging parents to start investing as early as possible.
This is an incentive to get them to start saving at a very young age, put that money in there, and have a little nest egg.
The Bright Babies benefit is simple. Start a college savings plan during your child's first year, and Smart 529 will put $100 in your account absolutely free.
This really opens up our program to young mothers and fathers to realize the importance, and grandparents to realize the importance of putting a little money into that child's education for the future.
Parents who've recently adopted a child can also benefit from the Bright Babies program. Regardless of the child's age, any adopted child who has not yet celebrated the one-year anniversary of their adoption can receive the $100 contribution with a new Smart 529 account.
And I think that's very important that we're reaching out to the adoption community to make them realize that they're part of this Smart 529 plan as well.
Reporting for Treasury Notes, I'm Kim Ward.
And you can learn more about Bright Babies and the 529 savings opportunity at smart529.com. You can also call 1-866-574-3542 for assistance. Well, if you've ever wondered just how much of a difference a college savings plan makes, just ask a recent graduate who is faced with paying back student loans. Even if you can't save the full tuition amount, any savings you can contribute to your child or grandchild's education is that much less they'll have to pay back in the future. Less student loan debt is the best way for new graduates to start the next part of their journey with a good financial foundation. But it isn't just up to the parents to make that happen. Joining me now is Matt Hale, a financial consultant with Hilliard Lyons here in Charleston. He's here to share with us some simple and practical ways for recent graduates to get their financial house in order from the start. Matt, thanks so much for being here with me today.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me, Gina.
Well, we're glad to have you. And as a young professional yourself, it hasn't been really that long since you were in the position we're talking about here. As a recent graduate, did someone give you advice on how to get started on a good financial foot?
Absolutely. My father was obviously a huge mentor. He was the owner of a small business for years, so I got to watch how he managed his money and was a great example. He told me, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself, and he was extremely crucial in that. And also my pastor, my church was a wealth of information for me. And so I was fortunate I got off on the right foot to have those positive influences around me.
A lot of people don't always have those positive influences in their life. So a financial consultant is someone who can help, and that's really what we're talking about today. For a young person starting off in their career, there are a lot of firsts, including new income, a new job. Mm-hmm. Let's say you start out with a salary of $30,000. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to bring home that amount of money in a year. A lot of people don't always understand that when they're starting out. So explain to us the difference between gross income and then the net pay that you actually bring home.
When I graduated college and I started my first big job, and I was excited, I said, wow, I'm really going to make good money. It's going to be awesome. And I got my check, and I was so disappointed, because I thought I was going to make all this money, and I wanted to know where all of it was. So your gross income is not what you see. There's a lot of things that are withheld, your Social Security, your Medicare, any retirement savings, and federal and state income taxes as well. So it was kind of a rude awakening. I know we all can relate to that, but you need to base your life choices and your lifestyle off of your net income.
And talking about that net income, that's where creating a budget really plays a significant role in your life. And a lot of people don't necessarily think it's necessary to create a budget when they're right out of college. Maybe they're living at home with their parents, or maybe they don't have very many expenses, so they don't think that a budget is necessary. What would be your recommendation?
A written budget is crucial. It's essential for anyone wanting to know where their money is going. I don't like the word budget. I don't like the word diet either.
I don't either. That's something we can definitely agree on.
And I think budget's a lot like diet. It's no fun. You mean I can't spend money on this? I like to think of it as you taking inventory of what's coming in and what is going out. So who wouldn't want to have control over their money, to know where every one of your dollars are going? And it's just extremely crucial to do that, especially starting out. Some people say, well, I want to make enough money to have a budget. I disagree. You can't build a house without a blueprint, and you can't build a successful financial plan without having the blueprint or your budget, your inventory of your inflows and your outflows.
Okay, so how do you do that? Where do you start when you're talking about creating a budget?
Well, let's go back to our net income, not your gross, okay? You look at what you're taking in. You look at what your expenses are. And obviously, if what you're taking in isn't as much as what is going out, you need to make some serious adjustments.
All right, so rent, electricity, water, those are expected expenses. Mm-hmm. There are other expenses that many young people may not consider for their budget. For example, different types of insurance that they may be looking at. Right. It's not always that simple as mom and dad taking over a car payment or your car insurance, is it?
No, it's not. It's not just deciding, oh, I'm going to pay for my car insurance now. You actually become the owner of that policy, so you have to go through the change. It may go up or it may go down depending on your driving records, and which some people could have a little more trouble with that than others. But you're definitely going to incur a lot of new expenses as far as that goes.
And let's talk about insurance. You may not be owning a home right away, but that means you're probably going to end up renting. What about renter's insurance? A lot of people don't factor that into their budget, and they don't realize that it may be something that's important to get.
It sure is. People think, well, I'm covered, I have a landlord, and so if there's a fire and you lose your possessions, that they'll be liable for that. But that's not the case. You need renter's insurance for your possession. Your landlord has the policy on the brick and mortar aspect of it. So you just need to take in these little, Gina, these little expenses we're talking about, like car insurance and renter's insurance. It creates a snowball, and it goes back to the importance of creating a comprehensive budget for you and your household.
Yeah, today's show we're really focusing on the younger generation and getting people started with a budget right out of college and started on that good financial foot as they move forward into true adulthood once you graduate from school or whatever type of higher education that you have received. Talking a lot about insurance right now. We talked a little bit about car insurance, a little bit about renter's insurance. What about health insurance? That's another issue. It's been in the news a lot lately, and something that people need to consider. Health
insurance it's very costly, especially for me. I'm a young man, and so getting health insurance is something that it's a necessity, because let's be honest. I mean, we don't know what tomorrow holds, and I say I'm a young person. There's not a lot of chance that I'd incur serious medical expenses. But if you drive to work every day, if you like to go outside and enjoy things, accidents can happen. So I say insurance is really a necessity, and it's something that should be budgeted for.
Well, that's a good point. A lot of younger people think, I don't need it. I don't have any health risks right now. I'm a young, healthy adult. It might not be something I need, but that's not always the case. The reason you need insurance is for something unexpected, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody would want to go out and get insurance once they're sick, or when I broke my leg, I better get insurance because I can't pay for the surgery. But it's extremely important for everybody, every young person especially, to have insurance.
We have a phone number up there for more information. You can also always check our website for more information on financial education. We have a lot of great resources out there. But right now we're talking about the younger population, people who are in college or just graduating college, trying to get out there in the real world and figure out what expenses they're going to have. What are other ways young people can prepare for some of those unexpected expenses? Can they create emergency funds, or what should they be doing to really factor in the unknown?
You really need an emergency fund. I would strongly encourage that because your job, if you lose a job or have your car break down or any unforeseen thing that happens, I recommend typically 4 to 6 months of expenses be held back in a cash account in the event, and that money's not to be touched, it's not play money, it is there specifically to be a lifeboat to you and your household and to carry you through any tough times you may have because of a layoff or any unexpected expenses that arise out of nowhere.
Now, people hear that seems like a lot of money to people. When you say that, what, 3 or 4 months worth of expenses?
I like 4 to 6.
Okay, 4 to 6.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a lot of money. How can people slowly start to get up to that savings amount?
It goes back to the budget.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep going back there because that's really the core. You need to evaluate your expenses and allocate funds every month to yourself. Pay yourself. You need to pay yourself from the money as you bring in. I think that's fair.
There are also some actual advantages, financial advantages when you're just starting out. Tell us about some of the tax deductions recent graduates can take advantage of. I know there are some good things to being young and just starting out.
There are a plethora of opportunities and tax advantages and things like that, but everybody's circumstance is so individualized. I am not really a CPA to be able to give you specific tax advice, but if you're young and you're starting out, I would highly suggest you sit down with a CPA tax professional, not just a person who files your taxes for you. Sit down with somebody and do some serious tax planning because everybody's individual circumstance is different, so you could get a clearer picture once you sit down with that person.
Well, on this show, we always talk about the Smart 529, saving for college now, saving for college when that child is just a baby or a young toddler, to plan for those expenses that are going to be in the future. But if you haven't done that, or if there are other expenses, what advice do you have for people to avoid debt when you are just out of college? What are ways you can take matters into your own hands and avoid debt?
If you're coming out of college, you're entering a whole new season in your life, and you need to be sure to live within your means, to not use credit as a source of income, because you'll dig a hole deeper than you could ever get out of. And people graduating college, I mean, my generation, we graduated with a lot of debt. Pretty much you're graduated with another mortgage, a lot of people do. And so it has really delayed their goals and objectives in life. If you're wanting a house, if you're wanting to save for retirement, it's really made my generation kick the can down the road. So it's extremely important in those first couple years in your new career and your new season that you understand where you are financially, go back to your written budget, and make sure that what you're spending lines up with that inventory, I'll say, instead of budget, because I don't like to say budget, but I would definitely want to be sure that your lifestyle fits your means.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 big takeaways. Create that inventory, create that budget for yourself, and live within your means. Those are 2 really important messages. A lot of times easier said than done, but definitely something people need to consider. Students and recent graduates are often targeted by these credit card companies. What do people need to understand about credit cards to keep from getting in over their head? Because I know when I was in college and right out of college, that was a way of life for me. I'd even buy groceries on the credit card.
Yeah. It's not a magic little plastic card that you can go out, it's free money and that comes out of this card. Your credibility is tied to that card. Your credibility, your credit, that's where we get it from. You need to keep in mind that every dollar that you put on that credit card, you're going to be accountable to. I would highly recommend not putting any more on a credit card, if you can help it, that you can't pay off at the end of the month.
What about your credit report? How does your credit report affect you when you're just starting out? Because I know a lot of people, we hear a lot of talk about the credit report.
Credit reports are crucial. It's a measure of your credibility, and going back to that, if you want to buy a home, obviously, you're going to pay a higher interest or get declined if your credit's poor. It goes back to buying a car. You're going to pay extremely high interest because the bank's taking a risk to loan you money, because your credibility on paying that loan back has not been good in the past. So keeping and maintaining a good credit score is really a positive thing, especially for people in our generation.
What about a potential employer? Could a bad credit score affect potential employment?
Yes, it sure could. Especially if you're in the financial services industry and your credit is poor, there's a lot of marks against you as far as landing that job, knowing that your credit rating is so low. Any
other advice for establishing a good credit score?
If you hold credit, pay it off. Pay more than the minimum. If you're carrying a balance, pay more than the minimum. If they see you paying the minimum every month, it is a mark against your credit. Don't go check your credit 10 times a day trying to get a department store credit card.
Yeah.
And live within your means. Pay your bills on time and you'll be fine.
All right, Matt, a lot of great advice so far. I want to talk more about what young people need to consider in planning early for the future. But first, we are going to take a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Treasury Notes. I'm your host, Gina Joins. Today we're talking financial advice for young adults. We've already talked about some financial concerns for the young professionals just starting out and establishing a budget. Now we want to turn our conversation to future planning. Matt Hale, a financial consultant from here in Charleston, is here with me today to offer some advice and to give us some new perspective on this subject. Matt, for young people just starting in their professional careers, retirement is probably the last thing on their minds, but really that's the ideal time to start saving, when you're young and when you're just starting out.
Yeah, it's never going to be convenient to save money for yourself. Let's just face it. But it's extremely important that you do so, because time and money go hand in hand. The earlier you can start saving, the more benefits you get to see from the power of compounding. Of every year, seeing your accounts grow and seeing the growth grow. And it's extremely important that we don't put that off, because it's something we're seeing people waiting later and later to start, and they're having to play catch up in their later years. So starting early prevents a lot of stress down the road.
I mean, when you're making just pennies, it seems like peanuts. It's hard. It's easy to say, I'm going to put that off. I'm going to put that off. But like you said, sometimes when you put it off, you never start.
It's never convenient.
It is never convenient. But there are other long-term goals that people need to start preparing for at an early age. What are some of those other long-term goals that you should start planning for at an early age?
Obviously, you have your house and retirement. Those are long-term goals that people have. You got to think about your family. Where do you see your family growing? Do you see you having kids? You want to get a 529. You want to look at your life insurance situation. There's a lot of different details that need to be evaluated, because down the road it will really pay dividends for you.
Well, we've all heard the idea of stuffing your savings under the mattress. Those days are pretty much gone, and most people need to save and grow by investing, what advice do you have for a person just starting out and learning how to invest their hard-earned dollars?
Well, don't go bury it in a coffee can in the backyard.
Yeah, that's another one.
That's
Under the mattress, coffee can.
It's not a good idea.
I think my uncle hid a jar of coins somewhere in the attic, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You'll find stuff, especially from previous generations. But you definitely need to start saving and investing it wisely. Even if you don't have a lot, there's not a minimum here. To start that first step of not just keeping it in cash, but actually putting your money and your savings to work will be extremely advantageous.
All right, now this is going to be a scary statistic for many people, but how much of a person's income should they be putting into savings? And that includes, when I'm talking about that, emergency savings, retirement, everything that could be involved with that.
I recommend 10% of your money goes into savings and your retirement and your emergency fund. Pay yourself 10%, and we think 10%, well, that's a lot. I don't think so, because you think about it, you're paying yourself money. I mean, it's just like you need to be able to keep a portion of what you earn, and it goes back to the budget.
Back to the budget and living within your means.
Living within your means.
Are two topics for this show.
And you want to be able to trim down expenses here and there. Maybe it's eating out, maybe it's too much gas and travel. There's a lot of different ways you can trim budgets to be able to invest wisely.
Yeah, absolutely. In general, many of these graduates, they're starting their independent life, they're already in debt. We talked about this a little bit earlier. What advice would you give them for handling the debt that's already incurred? If you're sitting here watching this program, you just graduated college and you're thinking, I'm way behind. I'm very much in debt right now.
The worst thing you can do is act like it's not there. It's the elephant in the room. I know some people, an allegory I kind of liking this to is someone who knows that they have a health issue but refuses to go to the doctor and get it fixed.
Right.
You have to attack it head on. You need to be fearless. I know it's daunting. I know it looks overwhelming, but you can do it. People have done it, and you need to start with that first step. Once you take that first step, you build momentum, and you just keep attacking it head on, and you can do it.
And you hit on this theme a lot earlier, but I want to expand on it just a little bit. How can you invest in yourself? And I'm not just talking about paying yourself back through maybe some savings, but there are other ways you can invest in yourself. Explain to me what some of those things are.
You need to do what you're passionate about, and what your vocation is, what your career is. People think investing in your education, investing in yourself means a 4-year degree and incurring a lot more debt and incurring a lot more money, a lot more expenses to go into education. Get certified, take classes. It doesn't have to be a 4-year degree. If you want to be a welder, take classes and get certified on what you in welding. I know to do my job, I had to go through many different certification processes, and it was not a lot of fun, but you had to do it. And whenever the purpose of investing, what is it? You want to create growth. You want to create growth. You can do it financially. You can do it personally. And when you invest time, which is a very valuable currency that people a lot of times don't think about, when you invest time in yourself and improving your craft and what you're passionate about, it pays extreme dividends down the road. It makes years to come. You'll be really glad you did.
And you said you're a Marshall graduate.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm sure you've had lots of friends who have been met with many of these challenges in recent years. Do you have any personal accounts or personal examples of people being able to persevere, or some of the stumbling blocks that some of your friends have encountered when they're trying to get off on the right foot?
I know a lot of people I went to school with, they didn't have a good support structure, so they had to really work hard in college. I know one of my friends was working full-time and going to college, 18 hours a semester. I don't know how in the world she did that. It was that was extremely challenging. But what student debt she did incur, she got a written budget down and just attacked it head on and wasn't afraid to face it. And through a lot of work and perseverance, she's almost there. So it's really
That's
awesome.
Fantastic. And we're seeing our website right here, wvtreasury.com. We have a host of financial information there for you, financial resources really for all ages, not just recent graduates. Of course, that's what we've been sitting here talking about today, is those recent graduates, but we also have other financial information on our website to help people out there weed through some of the information. You can go to our website, call financial professional. Of course, we also have a 1-800 number there on the screen. But really, the point is that you want to start planning with a budget. You want to get some good advice, and maybe that means reaching out to someone in your community, whether it is a local religious leader, as you said, that was a big support system for you growing up, or if it's a financial expert. But there are people out there who can help you plan and figure out a budget and start living within your means, right, Matt?
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. That's what I do for a living. I get to, people think about investing, you have to have a ton of money and you have to be like Donald Trump or something, but you don't. You just need to take that first step. I've walked through budgets with people. I've counseled them financially, and that's part of the greatest joy about my job, is to get to help others.
Any other advice you have for young adults as they get started out in the real world, hopefully have a brand new job and just getting on that financial good foot to make sure that they're off on the right start?
Live within your means. Be fearless. Don't be afraid to take risks. And if you need help, reach out. We can help you.
All right. And any contact information you want to share if people are looking for some resources?
Sure. I'm Matthew Hale. I work at Hilliard Lyons in Northgate Business Park in Charleston, and our number is 304-344-1854, and any of us will be glad to help you.
And of course, a lot of different resources out there. There are a lot of people in the local communities that are able to help out if you have questions about some financial education and financial advice. Matt, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was great talking with you, and we appreciate this discussion to help young adults move forward. And I'm sure we'll be in touch with you and some of your peers to talk more about some of these financial issues. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Gina.
As we talked about with Matt and earlier in the show, young people today are facing an obstacle older generations didn't have to. I'm talking about student loan debt. When recent graduates start their professional careers with debt already weighing them down, it can often be difficult to establish a strong financial standing. One way to alleviate that burden is to use more college savings instead of relying on student loans. After all, any amount of money saved is that much less that you'll have to borrow. Here in West Virginia, thousands of people are doing just that with the help of the Smart 529 College Savings Plan. Earlier in the show, we shared with you a new incentive from 529. In case you missed it, Smart 529 is introducing the Bright Babies program. It's a new way to help new parents begin saving for their child's education within the first year. Here's how it works. When you open a new Smart 529 account within 1 year after your child or grandchild is born, Smart 529 will make a $100 contribution to that college savings plan. There are a few eligibility requirements. The program is available for any child born after January 1st, 2015. The plan must be open before they celebrate their first birthday. And the $100 incentive is also available for any adopted child who has not yet celebrated that 1-year anniversary of his or her adoption. Children must be a West Virginia resident at the time of enrollment. All you have to do to get that $100 is to check the Bright Babies enrollment box when you complete your 529 paperwork. You can learn more about the program and open an account online at smart529.com. Thanks so much for joining us here today. We appreciate you being with us. And we appreciate you joining us for Treasury Notes. Follow us online, as always, and keeping you informed on the Library Television Network. I'm Gina Joins with the Office of West Virginia State Treasurer John Perdue. Thanks for joining us.